I think they are crumbling right now.
They can be a good team, but I don't think they can win the split.
Unicorns of Love absolutely destroying Origin in one final fight.
I think our team is actually good at all stages of the game now.
Steve can't put him down. It is Gilius who does it. It's a great day for Schalke 4.
Gamers2 and Fnatic are gonna be on the top.
The reaction be fast enough. Gamsu over the wall. Parallel convergence doesn't really land on anyone. But Spirit gets it! Fnatic and Spirit gets it.
If we continue working hard, I think we can be a lot better than we did before.
And the reigning champs prove they are still supreme.
I'm pretty sure we will be #1 and #2.
Gamsu is going to find his prey for a first kill, second kill on the triple.
Oh, triple knockup from Trick, and that will result in 2 fast kills over to G2. Teleporting out of there. Will he make it? Yes, he will!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European LCS studios here in Berlin, Germany, where we've arrived at week 2 of the summer split, and the fight for the top is in full swing. Unicorns of Love fans always in the house, and outside waiting just a couple of minutes ago. Super excited to get into week 2, as well as Vitality with their new AD carry in the back. Rhea, of course, very exciting to see what they can bring out, and obviously Origin, but also the new AD carry, although we've heard of him before.
The new old AD carry.
In the AD carry role. Hello everyone, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter here behind the analyst desk alongside Martin Fischer Lunge, Andy Vedius Day, and Trevor Quickshot Henry. Just getting started, let's take a look at the standings after week 1. The spring champions G2 are undefeated, 4 straight wins for them, then Fnatic and Schalke right behind them. Giants and OG winless. You said you were not surprised by Origin being winless?
No, not really. I mean, we knew there was a lot of questions about this lineup in week 1. We didn't expect them to show up, you know, the first week. I didn't expect them to have Pick as the AD carry in the second week either.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes surprises will happen. I really don't know what to expect from this team anymore.
Now, this is the good time that now we can start testing some of those theories. Last week, we watched 4 games per team. Those sweeping generalizations of the teams that are going to win the spring split come out. But now we can actually test them and see how the teams continue to grow and develop throughout the split.
Yeah, we got to look for the first time at the refreshed rosters as well. And we have a good way to now track the outstanding performances and the surprises because of our player of the game leaderboard. Taking a look, Betsy and Febiven at the top with Gilius and Yuktok. We always believed in Betsy.
Yeah, we have quite a few mid laners sitting at the top, which is always nice to see. Betsy doing a great job coming back onto Rocket. He did have a pretty good split last bit, but now he is definitely the shining star for Rocket right now, alongside Febiven and Gilius, who has definitely been stepping up for Schalke.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. 2 Player of the Game awards last week. Trashy, of course, is another jungler who stepped up during week 1. And both of these guys really impressed me because both of them left something to be desired in the spring split. And we see them come out really swinging, really hitting hard. Gilius basically carried Schalke to a victory against UOL with his Elise performance, and Trashy was phenomenal on Gragas all week long. I'm very excited to see how they continue to develop because we're seeing these younger talent actually show up on stage, and it's taken a little while, but they're getting there.
Well, I think just even the bottom 4 teams of last week, we talked about this last week, are much better now. Like even Giants, yes, they lost all their games, but we see some new players in there, some players who could surprise, you know, further on in the season. But Splice, Rocket, Schalke, definitely stronger teams than last bit. Overall, the entire region is more competitive. Question is our top team stronger than last bit? I would say G2 is for sure. Fnatic will probably be. And then I'm not sure about the rest yet. Because like Origin is obviously not going to be as strong as they were last split towards playoffs.
Well, we'll be wiser today.
It's okay. It's okay.
Splice and Schalke will be our last match of the day up on the card, but we're going to start things off with H2K taking on the Giants, and then we'll see Fnatic versus the Unicorns of Love in the arena, followed by Vitality OG over in the studio, and Rocket versus G2, and then Splice versus Schalke, as said, will be our last match.
I can't wait. That's the players I just talked about a second ago, Trashy versus Gilius. Splice and Schalke, they looked good in week 1. Splice, they still have some issues to work through in terms of their shot calling in the mid game. But again, young teams developing, and I want to see if they can continue playing well.
And not only should we look for Trashy and sorry to interrupt.
That's
you there.
all right.
Not only should we look at Trashy and of course Gilius, but I also think Spraddle and Copy deserves like some mention here. Copy had a great performance as the AD carry and Spartle on support. He's been getting better and better ever since he was pro miscue and obviously didn't do well. And then he got removed from Elements and back on the lineup. He's actually getting much better, so I'm pretty excited to see that match.
Did you just say that on purpose?
Yeah, because people called him pro miscue because he had such a bad start.
That low-key flame,
There's a little bit of accent in there, but also it was what people called.
Various.
I'm personally excited to see our first game between Giants and H2K because I have a lot of optimism for Giants. I think that they can still pull it back. Yes, they had a really rough week 1, but it was against G2 and Fnatic, who a lot of people would consider top 2 teams right now. So I still have faith, especially in the mid lane at Knight. I think he can be a promising rising star.
Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, the teams are also on 6.11. They've been preparing a lot for 6.10. Now another patch. You mentioned Knight. What will we see in the mid lane? Any big changes?
Vlad is probably still going to be the big contender in the middle lane. We have already seen a couple in the Challenger Series. We've seen a lot of priority on taking him away. Azir did experience some nerfs this patch, but he's still likely to be quite a powerful pick. His mid to late game is still very impactful. Kindred and Lucian, while they also had a couple of hits, they'll still likely be picked. Maybe just not as powerful and as much of a priority as we've seen in the past.
Basically, this patch was a live design team who were very angry at some specific champions. And they're like, okay, we have like these 7 champions who are a little bit too strong, so they nerfed all of them, same patch. Obviously, Vladimir was left unchanged, which is why he's probably going to be the most banned champion together with like Ryze, who is still a bit too strong. But everything else is actually very fair now. Like even Nidalee, Kindred, who were considered such a strong pick last week and for the last month or 2. Now you can actually leave them open and you can pick around them. You don't have to ban them. Same for AD carries with Lucian. Same for a lot of top lane changes. I actually think this meta is going to change quite a bit. Mainly because top lane tanks have been nerfed again. And it opens up for a lot of these new picks coming in, like more bruisers, split pushers, which will automatically change the entire meta, obviously.
We'll see what happens, but we also want to know what you guys think at home, and we want to ask you which champions will move into the must-pick ban category on 6.11 and why. Trevor, who would you must-pick ban?
I mean, Vlad's the obvious choice. You know, we've mentioned it a few times. I'm more excited to see what else will come out as a must-pick. You know, Vlad is off the table, even though Swain took some hits. Maybe he's going to rise in popularity. Betsy had some great performances with him last week. Faker's Anivia this week was impressive. I'd love to see Anivia coming out. We were talking off air about what champions we could see on 6.11.
Oh, that's yours?
And Bird is the word.
Okay.
That's the one I want to see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Interesting.
You really have something to say.
I just want to, you know, I want all of us to pick one champion we think is going to show up.
Nami.
You say Nami's
We've seen
here.
it already.
Fine.
I mean, I still
All
want
right,
to see it.
one champion.
I'm going to go with Ashe because I think Ashe has seen a lot of popularity over in LCK and LPL.
Cheating a little bit.
On 6.10, though. They've seen her in 6.10. Now, on 6.11, Lucian I don't think is going to be banned anymore. I don't think he will be a ban. Caitlyn will be the new ban, and now we need engage AD carries. We need the Sivir, we need the Ashe, but Ashe, I think, will be one of the priority AD.
All right, and yours?
I say Laui top lane, but it's a very risky one. She can only win lane, and then she has to snowball completely out of control.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Wait
But
for it.
you know, we asked you guys at home, who do you think will be must-pick ban? So tweet your responses at LOL Esports and use that hashtag EU LCS, and we're going to talk over them in the post-game lobby. That's at the end of the day. Time for some matches, though, starting off with H2K versus Giants. Let's dive into H2K first week. 2 ties for them, and when we were talking in our preparation this week, a lot pointed towards the fact that they weren't very aggressive when they had a lead. One person, though, that did do that is Jankos. He seems to always be the catalyst. 94% kill participation for him.
In half of the games.
Yeah.
If Jankos wasn't doing something, the team wasn't doing something. And it just felt like H2K were not fully on the same page in the games that they lost, but when they won, it was very good, it was very clean. But I just felt when the teams were even, they were just so passive in the mid-game. They weren't trying to play proactive and weren't trying to force their opponents to make mistakes and react.
It's been a problem for H2K before. Obviously, they want to make sure they only take these like low-risk opportunities and go for them, but it's very hard if the other team is playing correctly, like Schalke actually did in their games. So I just want to see a little bit more aggressiveness. I think it's fine from time to time to make a poor play because you try to set up for a bigger play, and that's something they should work on.
We'll see what happens. They are still the favorites in this matchup going up against the Giants, as said. Really rough start for them, 0-4 versus G2 and Vitality coming up the back of week 1. Yet, Vedias, you had your eyes on Knight in the mid lane?
Yes, because Knight. Now, what impressed me the most is if you look at his statistics, he's not the best mid laner, just based on statistics alone. But I feel like that doesn't paint the whole picture for Knight as a player because he went up against Perks and went up against Featherven, both regarded as maybe the strongest mid laners in Europe.
The
right
strongest.
now. The strongest mid laners. So we can quite confidently say that. And he was only, during the laning phase, he was only down on average 3 CS a 10. I mean, that's quite an impressive stat line in the fact that he was holding his own in lane. The problem for Giants is just the team around him seemed to be collapsing. And can Maxlaw set up the pressure? Can Smitty J draw that pressure up to the top lane? I just feel like what Giants need to do is get the attention off of Knight so that he can rise to glory.
Yeah, versus G2, we saw when Maxlor put some pressure on it, went better for them. We'll see what happens. Now, moving on to the LCS studio, OG is taking on Vitality. Very, very interesting match. Obviously, both squads had a rough start, one a bit rougher than the other. Vitality drew twice, once versus Splice, once versus Fnatic, and they had the slowest wins on average in week 1 and the fastest losses. What does that tell you about them as a team?
Well, it tells me that they should change the AD carries. And they did.
Oh,
Both teams changed the AD carries. Obviously, Raya in here, the Danish shrimp, basically, is what it
I
means.
can barely see him.
He's hiding there behind Nuke Duck, obviously, as the new AD carry for the very aggressive guy, young kid, 17 years old, great mechanics, will be a lot higher tempo they're going to play now, obviously, from a Vitality side with him compared to Police. And then Peke as AD carry as well.
Wait, would you just jump in? Obviously, OG is who they're up against. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he is up against someone who doesn't usually play AD carry, which brings us to Origin. It wasn't good last week. Obviously, we talked about, the confidence subbing in Peke in that game, and now he's playing ADC. Obviously, you say you can't be too harsh on them, but somewhere you should have seen this coming, or not?
So Peke is not known for his AD carry skills, but given that he is a veteran player, he's been in the league scene for a while, I think we can all safely agree that he knows how to play AD carry. Does he know all of the core mechanics in terms of rotations, lane swaps? Is all that knowledge there? Perhaps not, but in terms of the mechanical prowess, I still think Peke should at least be able to hold his own in the bottom lane.
Yeah, but the thing we need to see is how well he's going to match up in terms of this dual lane dynamic, because solo queue ADC versus competitive LCS ADC and, the duo and, zoning is going to be completely different. I am also very interested to see whether or not Origin can actually step up in terms of their shot calling and communication. In spring, the players were outspoken, saying Peke brought this level-headedness to the game. In the few games he played, they played better split push, better side lane. So I want to see if he can do that, but we've already seen how tough it is to call from the AD carry role. So it's a question of whether he can pull the high magic that like he did to Cloud9.
But that's basically it. Like, it's communication synergy instead. Yeah. Now, as an AD carry, he's not going to win you the game specifically. I don't think he's going to be useless. You can play Ezreal, Corki, these picks he used to play in the mid lane in the past. So there are options for him. Corki even got buffed this patch, just as an example.
All planned. In any case, as the team's ready up for picks and bans, it's time to send it over to the casters and kick off the week.